is a big event in the game called the Soulstice of Soul, and the title Born from. On the other end, for sure, the From Software game inspire us a lot. In fact, we are not Japanese people; we are European people, and for us, create this type of games is very difficult, especially from a visual point of view. But for Soulstice, all environment we created is much realistic that a lot of Japanese game. Especially games inspired by Japanese animation and manga. And for sure, From Software, for us, it's the biggest example to make things very, and especially environment, very interesting because of mood. Because for us, the mood of the From Software game is very interesting, special, and unique.
Yes, it was more a source of inspiration about tone and atmosphere, or the general dark fantasy, low fantasy setting. Not so much for gameplay, because in that case our sources of inspiration and references were just different.
I see. Is this a boss fight that we're seeing right now?
Yeah, this is the first boss fight in the game. We have also mini boss. This is the very first boss, and in this case the player is called to use all the ability and game rules that he have learned during the first branch of mission before him. This boss is a possessed enemy. In the game, we have mainly three family of enemy. We have corrupted human enemy. We have a ghost void enemy, and we have possessed. In fact, if you see, our main character, especially Lute, can cast two types of different auras. One is blue, and one is red. Here, our reference for sure is Ikaruga. And with these two kind of aura, Lute, for example, with the blue aura can materialize a ghost bright enemy. And in this case, for this boss, with the red one, he allow Briar, the big sister, to hit the enemy, because if you don't activate the red aura, you can't damage possessed family enemy.
Yes, the idea is that this aura system is designed to make each fight different and to cause it to play out in a different way according to the objectives, the targets that you set for yourself. So, for example, there may be a wraith attacking from a distance, and you may want to use your aura to get close and target it. But at the same time, you might have other types of enemies that will try to, gain the advantage because of the fact that you're not dealing with them directly. And this also is strictly related to the presence of both characters in each fight, because the idea was that we want the player to drive the battle, and Lute is there to make it possible to deal with enemies that surround you or that try and attack you from behind, for example. She will be able to shield you or to bounce them off or to hit them from a distance. Obviously, there's a lot of different events going on in each arena, and the idea is that Lute makes it possible for you to dominate these arenas nonetheless.
Well, you have
our game show two sisters, Briar and Lute, and all the game is focused on these two sisters, from both gameplay and story, of course.
So what can you tell us about these two sisters?
Yeah, the idea of these two main characters born during several meetings with my designer, and during this meeting we decided to move on this kind of game in general. And I love so much Japanese animation mangas, and I like very much dark fantasy, especially Berserk from Kentaro Miura and Claymore. And I find this opportunity very unique to try to create two strong characters using Berserk and Claymore as a reference. And with that in mind, we start to work around these two sisters with a very terrible past and a great mission for the game.
What we can tell you story-wise about them is that they're not the only ones in this world to have this sort of relations, because they are our main characters, but you will have the chance to meet others in the game and see the inherent danger that this condition, their own life and uneasy balance represents. And they were not, we can tell you something, not too much because we don't want to spoil the story,
Sure.
but they didn't have a say in their transformation, in their rebirth. And the way that each one of them reacts to this is different. And since they're always on screen together, they get to have a voice about what they face and the story as it unfolds. So the idea is that we have not only one but two characters facing their own narrative arcs and trying to solve some issues between them as well as the story goes on.
So even though there are two main characters, is this a single-player game?
Yes, but in truth, you get to control directly Briar, the sword woman. What happens with Lute is that she is an AI-driven character that is a mix of manual input from the player and contextual actions. But Fabio can tell you more about this.
Yeah, the two systems, mainly in combat, the two systems respond on a we call that a unity system that show to the player the value of unity between both, and respect that value, Lute become more powerful and also allow the player to interact with their action more than normally. When this unity value grows up, unlock special moves for both sisters. And these special move consist in a very powerful special attack that the two sisters do in complete synergy. On a higher level, the two sisters become more and more powerful, but I can say more on that because there is something special in the future respecting this kind of unity system.
I see.
Famous word from the game and also manga, like the sword from Final Fantasy VII, the Berserk sword. But also I really like, for example, the sword coming from, for example, Monster Hunter and Bloodborne. And in fact, our signature weapon can be transformed from a big sword into a big mace. Of course, in this kind of game, the player can unlock and use a different secondary weapon. In this case, in our gameplay video, we have at the moment the big iron gauntlet and the wimp. Wimp is used especially when you have a lot of enemy around you, because it's a long-range weapon, but he don't do the same damage as the gauntlet. For example, gauntlet is used on single target, and especially versus the enemy that have an armor. So with the gauntlet, you can break armor on the enemy. Signature weapon is sword and mace. Sword it's not quick like the wimp or other secondary weapon you can unlock during the game. Is the balanced weapon for the game.